Hello everyone, welcome to Meet the Yatripreneur Google Hangout series. My name is Anant Krishna. I will be the moderator of the discussion today. If you want to ask your questions, use the Q&A tab on the top left-hand side and I'll call you out after we finish our discussion. Also, if you want to be featured in these series, please drop a note to our producer Ashwin Yogesh at ashwinyogesh@gmail.com. Now today we're going to meet a very interesting Yatripreneur. The enterprise is in the field of imparting life skills. A warm welcome to you, Charnita Arora, and a warm welcome to Perfect Life Spot.
Thank you.
So, Ashwin, do you want to put the slide? Can we see the slide? Okay. Charnita, do you see the slide as well?
Yes, I do.
It's up, Anand.
All right. Well, Perfect Life Spot, PLS for short. Very interesting sounding. Even the logo looks very unique. Can you tell us a bit about PLS?
Yes, interestingly, I had started Perfect Life Spot as a blog in the final year of my college years. So it started off with this personal quest of understanding life around me. So you had these formal institutions of education, you go to school, you go to college, and then inside and you think that, do I really have the coping skills with life, which is uncertain? So it started off as a very personal quest, and I have a deep faith in being sensitive. So when I accidentally, I just realized that a perfect life spot would be please. So that would mean being polite, being kind. So the name and the idea started like that, and the logo was a very organic, spontaneous creation. So it was drawn in one go on a random day during my post-graduation years. So I just opened up my colors, watercolors, and just painted it. And later on reflecting on it, I just thought that it connects so deeply with me because it has the idea of a nest. And if you have ever seen any bird create a nest, you would find that it's such a beautiful, intimate process of making your home. So I just felt that this is what I want to do. I want to create an alternative space where one could realize oneself. And little did I then know that it would be about education shared with everybody. It started as a personal quest mostly. And now it seems as if it's about creating a space of belongingness for others too.
So, what was your background though? I mean, you said a little bit about it. I think you've done a teaching degree, right? Teaching in English, was it? And how did that evolve into this? I mean, you gave a little bit of, insight into what your nest process was thinking there. But how did it evolve from the education onwards?
Yeah. So it started off with this idea that I really liked English. I really liked reading, writing, engaging with different ideas about life. So I knew that I want to do something related to literature. But then there was this voice inside of me that wanted to understand people. So psychology was another, competing voice inside of me. And I ended up doing both of them. I ended up doing graduation in English literature. Alongside, I was also doing psychology courses, short-term and long-term courses in understanding different skills like counting of people and so on and so forth. And German language, which was something that happened to me. So, everybody around me wanted me to pick a foreign language, and I thought, okay, if I'm interested in one language, it could be an interesting idea of understanding life through another language. So, language and psychology became my spaces, but the main objective was always life, to understand life, to research more about life, more on life.
Right, you did that. Then how did it, how did it manifest into exactly what PLS does today, right? I mean, you have this space. You have a space where I'm thinking that you gather a lot of people, and then you guys go through a certain philosophy that you have. So talk to us about this space. Ashwin, can you put the space slide so we have an idea what we're talking about? So, yeah, go ahead, Charnita.
Yeah, so after completing my MPhil, my master's, when I came back to India, I was making a choice between doing the conventional PhD or starting with my enterprise. And I felt, after having written my thesis for my post-graduation, I felt that doing a thesis is a very solitary process. while I wanted to be engaged actively with the society. So that is how I started a space where I conventionally started offering courses like, self-improvement courses in English language, in English literature, self-confidence. So it was basically a test drive, a trial run for 6 months. I told myself clearly whether I make it into a sustainable ecosystem or I leave India and I complete my PhD, because I was getting a fully paid scholarship. And everybody around me were telling me that, you know what, you are doing something that's not the majority decision. So I was being iconoclastic, I was following my heart, but it was very clear to me that I have to give this inner voice a chance. So when I started with that place, very interesting, almost on its own, it gained the consciousness. So when I bought chairs for the first time, I realized that the way I was putting the chairs was not in queues and rows. It was in a circular fashion. So I just realized that it was inside of me to create a space that would lead to interaction, experience-based, emotionally inclusive facilitation. So it almost unfolded on its own. So there was a little inkling when I started, but then based on meeting more and more people, based on researching more on what was going on outside, it evolved on its own.
So what is the most important area of focus? I mean, when we talk about, different skills that that we put in a big bucket called life skills, right? I mean, what are the, Ashwin, can you put the slide of life skills so just people have an idea, what exactly life skills encompasses? It's slide number 4, Ashwin. Yeah, just go one
So
slide after that. Yeah.
So the idea was to be able to start initiating a movement inside of you. Like, what are the things you think you need to cope with life? And when you start meeting people, you realize that we are a deficiency consciousness. A lot of people will tell you what they are not good at, what they are lacking, what are the areas that they don't like about them. So going through that journey, it was very clear to me that the healing has to happen. The process of any self-actualization has to begin with understanding and accepting self. So we started with that process, self-awareness. Who are you?
Okay.
How do you know yourself? What are the strengths that you think you have? How can we develop and nurture it? Because, a lot of people want to do a lot for the society. But if they were to develop their own potential, then that's the best charity that they could do to the society.
Right. So what kind of people, do you see coming to your sessions? Give us an insight into that. So,
Yeah. In the past,
yeah, go ahead.
we have seen that mostly I have students from the age group of 17 onwards. So we also have young professionals coming in, because sometimes we have specific skills that we target. So relating to parenting, because parenting is also about how to nurture another child, another being. So depending on that, but the majority is from 17 to 24, college going undergraduate, postgraduate students. These days, for the last 6 months, we are also going to schools and targeting the age group between 13 to 17, because we realize that the main area or the intervention, the right time for intervention is the school. When we are able to engage with their inner dialogue about accepting themselves, we can really magnificently change their self-image and self-confidence. So right now, college as well as schools mostly.
And is there a segmentation by gender? I mean, do you see more women interested in this? I mean, usually it seems like a lot of emotional stuff. How do you see the guys reacting to it when you go at them with this, topic?
Yes. So, interestingly, a lot of outbound workshops have a heterogeneous demographic. We have both men and women. The students that come to us are mostly women, which is an interesting insight, because I think that there is, in our society, there is an absence of a female figure. So I think they identify very, very deeply with me. When they come to the space, they are able to open themselves up. They associate a lot of safety and acceptance with the space. So again, we have never made a conscious decision to have this kind of a gender space in PLS, but we have found that this is how it has been. 80% of our enrollments for the workshops have been women, females.
All right. So we see a slide with different settings of the sessions. There's one of the slides there. You've blindfolded everybody. What
Oh
what
yeah,
exactly do you do in that exercise? Can you tell us about that?
yes. This is a very interesting theatrical intervention. So when we meet a group of individuals who quote each other as strangers, we try to create a space of trust by having them do a group activity that would involve engagement on the verbal as well as non-verbal levels, um, without identifying them through their face. So when you're blindfolded, a lot of us, we judge when we see. So that judgment, that visual judgment is taken off, and you are interacting with another individual just based on your auditory understanding of that individual. So this is one of the experiential rituals we had in one of the first workshops in 2011, which was about gender sensitization. And it was amazing that the task was to make a square, and they were able to without knowing each other prior. So it was interesting that they could depend on their intuition and non-verbal, verbal communication skills. While had you asked them without having them do this activity, they would have said they cannot do it. So again, a certain idea of the other and having a strong sense of distrust, that was also that we noted.
Now, did you do this on the first day? Because it seems like a lot of perceptions are formed based on, like gender, you said, like identity, like name, like, skin tone, like caste, class. I mean, we have so many diverse way of, creating some expectations out of that identity. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Absolutely. I feel that our society is deeply going through this judgment obsession that whenever we look at anything, we want to qualify, categorize that between into right or wrong. And that is exactly the most important motivation for me to use non-violent or non-judgmental language was this. Because these students, since the time they got into formal education, they have a certain stress, and if not stress, a certain trauma associated with the red color. So many students go through unbelievable amounts of stress during exams because they know that there is somebody out there judging them. And if you were to give them the same question paper at home, in the peace and in the comfort of a familiar space, they would perform better. So this fear of judgment or this naturalization of something being bad and something being good is so there in our society that it feels natural to interrogate it. And there's a very interesting person named Marshall Rosenberg who has given us the ideology of non-violent or non-judgmental communication. So he actually teaches how to talk in a way that the other person is able to open up and comfortably be himself or herself. And this is one of the fundamental ideas that we follow at PLS, that every facilitator who gets associated with us, we try and understand what is the perspective or the baggage the person is coming with. So the person goes through this internal process of, in a way, unlearning a lot of things that were natural at first.
Right.
And it's magnificent. Once a student is comfortable in a space or feels that he or she is accepted and there is no judgment, they would express whatever is there inside of them. There would not be any suppression. And
Right.
then there is a scope for so many positive surprises.
So it seems like it's an intimate gathering. Is there a limit that you put that there are only 10 people in a session or a workshop, or I mean anything like that?
Since the methodology is experiential and every facilitator engages with the students on a very deep level, knows the name, understands them, their body language and everything. So usually we have not more than 10 to 12 students in our space, but there have been exceptions. When we feel that the content is more towards understanding and receiving rather than participation, then we also have more students. But all the experiential workshops, 10 to 12 students.
Right. Now, you also said that you go on the road, you talk in schools and colleges. how different is the setting? Because you are inviting them to your, setting, PLS, the place where you conduct these sessions. But here you're going on the road. The setting is very different. They don't have your pet dog and pet cat to soothe them, or, all the messages that you have on the wall, or, like I see in the corner, you have free hugs, all sorts of props you have. What do you do on the road? How different is it?
Interestingly, the space is an extension of me. So free hugs and animals around and everything else is me. So if I go out, then it's the direct version going out. So that's the idea, that the being and the doing are intimate. It's not that the space is away and different. It's about me, in a way, demonstrating or being myself in terms of the values that the institute holds. So if I were to give you an example, whenever we are getting a space in a school or college, we are usually offered a seminar room. So I would have this habit of going 15 minutes before the time and ensuring that the seating space is such that I can see everyone and they can see me. So the conversation is not interrupted by any unusual elevation, because most classrooms and seminar halls have this stage kind of a setting. So I would make it more comfortable, more informal in terms of evoking more trust and more friendliness in the space, because it's important how you use your space.
Right. So when you in schools and colleges, they have their formal education, right? I mean, where do you fit in, and how the colleges, tell the student that this person is coming over? How do they try to, place you? Like, like formal education, and like, you have formal education in the, schools. How do you supplement that with your, with whatever you do?
Very interestingly, I am standing at a crossroad of ideologies. So on one level, I am an assistant professor of Delhi University. I have my qualifications. I've cleared my net and all that. So for them, that ideological barrier has been in a way swayed. That okay, she's from the field of academics.
Right.
Then on the second level, they understand that what I'm going to do would not be adhering to a specific formal curriculum, but it would be useful for the curriculum of life. And the curriculum of life is ever changing. So it's
Right.
something that at a different level altogether. Like recently for the entrepreneurship development cell assignment that I have for tomorrow, I was introduced as an entrepreneur. So they want to understand that what are the skills that you need to become an entrepreneur. So this was a very clear introduction I got. No idea of me being a teacher or being an assistant professor.
Right. So now, so you said you go for an entrepreneurship session. You're coming with a set expectations there. Now you have a philosophy, right? And you have a bunch of facilitators that also conduct these workshops. How do you transfer the philosophy from you to them, and what is this core philosophy?
In reality, it's an ever-growing engagement with the life and its realities. So there is no fixed value system, though there are certain non-negotiable fundamental values, but there is no being the only one. So it's always open for inputs and for growth. So we have a very standard PLS handbook, which is gifted to every facilitator who becomes a part of PLS. And in the past, we have had over 80 facilitators, which I feel very happy about, because now they are in the university spaces actively teaching. And they come back to me with this feedback that this methodology of teaching makes us engage with the students as well as their contexts. So the values are applicable not just for teaching life skills, but also to teach anything. You can actually teach anything with that understanding that is humane, where you respect the individual, where you look at the student as this spectrum of possibilities, where you take this element of wonder and awe, and you tell the student that, you know what, I want to facilitate you to reach your highest self. That's my idea of being here. So we have a very simple process of giving that handbook, talking about it, asking them what are their views, and basically improving it every time a new facilitator joins.
Cool. I'm going to shift a little bit of gears and ask you about the impact, because you do these things. How do you measure impact? Because you have workshops which you do in your setting, and then you go to these colleges, do the sessions. So talk to us about the impact that you for yourself measure it, in these different audiences and settings.
That's a very good question because journey of an entrepreneur is a journey that's very solitary. You're always asking inside of you that the idea was to do some bit of problem solving, and are you really doing that, or what's going on, and how do you measure it? Is the financial coordinate the measure of it? What is the real measure? But if I were to look, if I were to share all the email accounts that are run by PLS, or my personal messenger, or any feedback mechanism that is there for the student, we can actually track that how extraordinary has this intervention been. Students come up, tell us stories about what are the changes they have made in their life and the lives around them. Because since we have more of female audience, we see that women recommend a lot. Word of mouth is very strong. So we get these stories of, I wanted to do this, but I was told by everybody to do this, but I believed and I did this, and this is what amazing result that I have experienced, and I want to share this story. So we have a special workshop called Pre-Charge Workshop. The students come back after having done our courses, and they share their what is the charge that they have got. And in these stories, you can really see that they are on the path of self-realization. Also, we have a strong database wherein we ask regularly our students if there are certain problems or certain life equations they are not able to solve. So I know each and every student that has come to PLS. I remember their names. I know their personal context. I know it completely because
Right.
inside of me, they're not just a roll number. They are a life that have a magnificent universe inside of them. So it's a
Right.
very intimate system. We also have webinars, and then through the audiences and attendances, we can see that how far is our space still reasonable and meaningful for them. So if they
Right.
come, it shows that they still are able to engage with the ideas that we have been nurturing so far.
Right. Is there a scorecard that you have for yourself? I mean, I know this is very subjective, but is there an objective scorecard that you keep for yourself and for also the facilitators that you teach your philosophy and they go out in the field? Do you do that?
Yes, yes. There's a joke, insider's joke in PLS, which is like we don't judge any student, but we let them judge us. So after
Okay.
every class, there is feedback, and every session there is a feedback where we are given raw ideas about what the students felt. So
Right.
we really have it directly, everything that's said, and we pay a lot of attention on what are the areas of improvement. And this is really something because it's very important for us to know from the students what they felt. That's the best way of knowing it. So that
Right.
is there. A lot of internal markers I have. Like I have a lot of goals inside of me that I want to reach more school students because I feel that 13 to 17 is the age bracket where amazing paradigm shifts can happen. So
Right.
all those students who are running after a certain fairness cream or a certain idea of self, if we intervene over there, it would be magnificent how the change of this country and the world would be.
Right. So are
There
you
are
are in the right? Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead and finish. Go
So
ahead.
those goals are always there, but also on a certain microscopic level, there are these daily feedbacks.
All right. So when you look ahead, are you seeing your evolution more towards the 13 to 17 bracket for the next 5 years? Is that where you're headed?
I see that as a crucial area of intervention, definitely. But one of the goals that I have for PLS is to developing it into setting up into an organic cafe. I feel that I want to create more such spaces where people can be, they can think about things that are important to our society, conduct events over there, create a space that is comfortable, just that. No intrusion of loud noises or overstimulated images that I see in standard cafes. So I want that to be a part of the future ideology of the space. To have a space which can click a certain sense of belongingness, that I can just comfortably be here, nobody is judging me, I can eat healthy food, and I can be a part of interesting activities which help me in my self-realization. So I
Right.
see it as a dynamic movement of people, and people going out and sharing these ideas with others, helping others accept themselves and become more self-realized individuals.
Now we talked a lot about this change that you're having in people. I mean, I put the slide there with all the testimonials. Some of them have come through WhatsApp. Looks like some of them are on your Facebook page. They seem pretty life changing. But life is a long journey as well, right? And people grow in different stages as they get married, have kids, or get different influences, jobs, whatnot. What do you see in your mind as the effectiveness of the grounding that you've laid with all what you do?
The fundamental or the most essential idea of happiness comes from self in the way I look at the world. So my idea is that if you are happy right now, then people around you would be happy. So if the definition of happiness could be you having made the life choices that contribute towards self-actualization. So you can make those right choices if you are able to think clearly and if you know yourself. Because after all forms of knowledge leads to self-knowledge. So I feel that these students are able to get that particular coordinate of the equation clear. They are able to be very clear individuals who know what they want. And they are
Right.
able to engage with the variables of life and its stages, the marriage, relationships, parenting, anything, because they are clear inside of them. So that's the idea. And to know who you are and you're working towards being authentic and integral, then
Right.
everything will get the trickle down positive effect of it.
Right. And I also see the organic cafe as something that I would drop in for a talk, just like a refresher talk every once in a while. Maybe I attended your workshop earlier, but then maybe every 6 months or 3 months, I would come and get a refresher breather of this. I see that. I mean, I see the potential for an organic cafe or a place like that to come and hang out and hear a talk, not necessarily a session, as you move forward in life. I just thought I'd mention that. Um,
So the idea of creating the space that is conducive to belongingness. So you could just enter in without feeling the stranger. Nobody would really
right.
gross to look at. They would just seamlessly accept you. So that is why the idea that space has an ideology. People, yes, but space itself has it also.
We're running short on time, but I also want to, this is very interesting. Something caught my eye was about the digital mindfulness, right? And the digital minimalism. Couple of words that I saw, and we live in such a digital world. Talk to us about what exactly that, what is that?
So mindfulness is the key word here. It could also be mindful eating. So a lot of us know that we are always hungry. I meet a lot of people who tell me that they can eat anytime, or people who can sleep anytime. The idea is when you attach the word mindfulness with it, you are aware of what is making you feel this pull towards. So I have seen that we are living, as I have previously quoted, that we are living in a carnival of chaos. That we are in a space we are always punctuated with these beeps and notifications and vibrations, and a lot of times these interrupt our focus and attention. So you might be doing something and there would be a call, and then that would digress you into doing something that was completely unrelated. So that felt like a very urgent need, because I am coming from college and classroom spaces where students use mobile phones as a paperweight on their registers. So they are always looking at it every minute, every second. So I realized that for anything to be done efficiently, you need to have concentration and focus. And for that, it is important to know that right now, I need to be mindfully engaged in my work, and I need to use my phone only when it needs to be used. Otherwise, I am being used by these devices. So
Right.
you have to be the choice maker rather than being chosen to do something.
Right, right. And you do see quite a bit of people getting addicted to that. And in fact, in South Korea, they were saying they were teaching kids from like fifth grade and third grade and all that on the addiction to games, whatnot. So, I mean, I totally see the potential. I was really struck by when I saw that. Um, have you had any transformative moments personally yourself as you meet so many people in the last, few years of you doing this?
Hmm. Um, I have had a lot of insights in my journey so far, but one moment that I have bookmarked in the maybe in the museum of my heart is is the one that happened this year, 2014, on the convocation. So we had the first PLS team this year, and all beautiful sari-clad ladies in front of me, and we were giving them these gifts of plants, and every plant has a value on it. So mindfulness, love, joy. So the idea was to start a rhythm of gifting plants, and we were playing loads of games, and I also gave one part of my possessions that was very dear to me. So I was practicing detachment. So things that I had collected during my journey and my life as a traveler, I had one thing from one country and I gifted it to specific students with a story that why is it important for me and why I have chosen you to give you to be the future person to possess it. So as we were going through that journey, I thought that the entire convocation was about them, and my entire flow of energy was to make them feel important. And what I realized was that there was this moment when I saw them whispering into each other's ears, and I was like, there is some conspiracy going on, something is about to happen. And in that moment, there was this one student who came and gave me this cushion which had the logo of PLS, and it had a zip. And I unzipped it and I saw that there was this little handwritten card which said, "The place where we were born again." When I read that, I was in tears because for me, childhood is a time where everything is possible. And if these students could relive that kind of possibility oriented space where they could reshape and reconstruct their own self, that meant a huge paradigm shift feedback. And I don't want to cry in this particular call, but it is a very emotionally relevant moment for me because I could see how much of a difference it makes for an individual to be able to say that. So
Very
that
true.
collective feeling.
Very powerful story. Now, do you have any people that you look up to, or you draw your strength from, like or your wisdom from? Do you have any such particular people that
I
you look up in? Yeah.
I have a lot of ideas that I look up to. So I don't know a lot of people, but I really feel pulled by ideas. And as I mentioned before, Marshall Rosenberg's idea of non-violent communication. That is a beautiful idea because I feel if people were mindful of the way they talk to others, we would not have a lot of violence in our lives. Then I have Thich Nhat Hanh's idea on mindfulness. So he talks about being aware of what you're thinking and what you're speaking and what you're eating, just awareness. So
Right.
mindfulness is another very powerful idea. Then there are so many other people, like randomly on a random day, students that I interact with, listening to their stories. There are times that they press a button and I note it down in my inspiration diary that this is one idea that is very empowering. So since you meet so many people from so many walks of life, yet you're always in touch of different ideas. And our system is very open. There is no mediation. Any student can contact me. They can message me, they can email me. And so I am always open to these ideas that are coming across. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's idea on flow, that how can you achieve a space of optimal living? How can you engage in an action so fully that you're immersed and it feels joyful? So these are some of the ideas. Ken Robinson's idea on the need for education to be relevant to life. That's another idea that I'm pulled by. So loads of ideas.
All right. What is the key message that you say on the last, moment when the people leave your workshop? What do you tell them? What is your key message as a goodbye greeting? What is it?
Usually the way we close workshops is me holding the placard free hugs or any student holding it and the space open for free hugs. We also have spaces like Bell of Awesomeness. So when we feel that somebody is being really awesome, we just have it. So we have loads of rituals of just reinforcing it to the individual participants that you know what, the world is out there. There are so many possibilities for you to do anything you want, and we are here. We believe in you. We we believe that you have it in you to do whatever you want. So it's a very soulful ecosystem of togetherness. Also, the main thing is that the main thing should remain the main thing. This is one line that I say very often, that
Yeah.
the main thing should remain the main thing, which is happiness. So a lot of times everybody is so stuck in getting something that they forget that who are they being, what's going on inside of them. So we try to get it back to the square one.
Right. Awesome. I'm going to open the floor to some questions. I think Amit Prabhu has a question. Amit, do you want to ask the question or do you want me to read it out? Amit, are you there? All right, I'll read his question. If he wants, he can come in. It's hello, Charnita. Considering the competitors in the market, I wanted to know if you have considered getting a copyright for your handbook or course, or the quality of the workshops is enough to compete in the market.
Um, Thank you, Amit, for this question. We have not got any of these workshops standardly in a standard way copyrighted so far, and I feel that the future of these workshops is getting published as books for other people to replicate it. So I don't think in my coming journey I'm thinking about monopolizing any knowledge. And I really feel that things that are worth buying, they sell themselves. Somehow I have believed that, and my past few years have kind of reinforced that belief. And in a way, I'm against competition. I'm a more cooperative orientation person. So that's how I feel it. And if there is somebody who can do it better than me, then it is really helping me achieve my target, which is to spread well-being for more people. So that's how I think.
Anybody else want to ask questions? Charita, you also have a YouTube series that you're doing, which is Moment of the Day series. You want to talk about it and the channel that you have?
Yes. So the Moment of the Day series was a very personal video journal. So I thought that, I'm somebody who is a big advocate of journaling. I feel journaling gives you a lot of self-awareness and it helps you in your journey of self-realization. And it has also been so proved with so many studies. So when I started recording these videos, they were very candid. They are very candid. And I thought that this is a very beautiful internal journey of me, not to take myself seriously, myself out there for anybody to like, dislike, comment. And this is a very good attitude to go about in the world with, because everything around us makes us take ourselves too seriously. But if we were to take ourselves not so seriously, then you can learn better, you can perform better. You don't have any pressure. You are just being yourself like a flower. So when you look at a flower, the flower is not competing with anyone to radiate fragrance or color. It just is. So I thought that let me be in that space where I would try to transcend all judgments that I know exist and just be myself. Because the best thing you can give to this world is to be a good example. So if probably I can try to do that, then I know that there'll be a lot of students who would think that, okay, I can also do it. So just doing this experiment. So again, a very vulnerable experiment, because a lot of people have sent me personal messages that you really want to do it because they're very candid.
That is the question. I'm going to ask Sriram's question. Sriram has a question as well. But before that, this whole identity of putting in the internet, there are a lot of people who struggle with how much is public, how much is private. I want to be anonymous. I don't know who is watching me, who's going to stalk me, whatnot. What is your stance on that? Because I see a lot of people struggling with identity there online.
I think the idea of identity gets its power from the subject. So if I identify with something, it is my identity. So if I say that my identity is dependent on how many likes my profile picture gets, then this is my identification that gives it power. It's not the medium in itself. So that is my idea, that it is absolutely a very subjective decision. And if one was to mindfully go back, you would realize that you are the active agent of giving power and being disempowered.
Okay, that's a lot of terms, but I thought I understood what you said. I'm going to ask Sriram's question. Sriram wants to know, how big is your team? How do you want to scale it up to other cities?
These are the questions that we are dealing with right now in our brainstorming spaces. So right now we have 5 people in the core team, and everybody is engaged in different elements. We also have several facilitators who are coming just for engagements, like part-time or full-time at times. we think about going to different schools and institutions across India and also across outside India in the coming years. So that's how we see it. We are already working towards establishing networks. A lot of people are connecting with us. They're getting to know about this kind of work, this kind of methodology. So that's how it is. It looks like huge spectrum of possibilities. So it would go first with Delhi, going to the different schools in Delhi, having students who have already done our courses being certified with facilitation, they taking it further. So thinking about it as an organic growth again, because I think that people who have done it, they know it the best. So that's how we are thinking about it right now.
Awesome, awesome, great to hear that. I don't see any other questions, but Charnita, I just had a thought that maybe you should put this Moment of the Day series as a podcast, like an audio podcast. It's perfect time. I mean, it's it's 1 minute to 2 minutes, and it's perfect to have a podcast so we can automatically get it on our smartphones and hear it, and if it's an audio minute of the day or something. I just thought I'll tell you because I had that thought. Anyway, all right. Anybody else have a question? Anybody else have a question? All right, Ashwin's got a slide on top. All right. Sriram has one more question. What's the revenue model like? I guess this is nitty-gritty of your enterprise.
I think we can have this question another time because this is not one of the questions I can answer in the space of time we have.
Right. But you are a for-profit model, right? I mean, you're not a non-profit, right?
We interestingly we use the word compassionate commerce.
Okay.
So there are where we are getting profit, and there are areas where, based on the economic situation of the students, we would not take any money or give certain partial or full scholarship. So
awesome.
The idea of compassion is there.
Awesome. All right. Well, we put the slide up. Ashwin, can we see the slide up for the connect to Charnita? Charnita, do you want to quickly run over these? I mean, you've got Twitter, you've got Facebook, you've got YouTube. Yeah, why don't you run over it yourself?
Yes. So we have several ways in which anyone could connect with us. So Perfect Life Spot, you can Twitter it, you could YouTube it. You already know that it's on Facebook, very active, regularly, lots of sharing of ideas happen. Then YouTube channel of Love Luck Life, which is my own channel. There I put up these 1 minute long videos. You could also email us at perfectlifespot@gmail.com. So all the channels are open for you, and if you think you have anything interesting to collaborate on or to basically share any good idea that has potential, we are open to it. Totally.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Charnita. Thank you. We wish Perfect Life Spot the best from Jagriti Yatra. Thank you for your time today. Wish you the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Good night.